Hey fish keepers, Dylan Tommy here. I'd like to cruise the fish room this evening. I actually spent a lot of time this afternoon, had a chance to put some time in and play in the tanks, get some work done. It being summertime, sometimes weekly maintenance falls to the wayside. Been very busy outside, very active, went camping with the family last week and really didn't have a lot of time to play in the tanks. So like I said, today I put some time in, did my weekly maintenance. Every one of these tanks has had a trimming or at least a water change today. Actually, I didn't do water changes down here in the Guppy tank and the Daniel Fry tank, which I call them Fry, but they no longer are. And those are the two tanks that'll probably be changed up and moved around very soon. But let's kind of dive into some of the tanks I did work on. Upon exploring this tank, I didn't really notice anything special except for that this crip didn't melt off, and it's actually looking great. It's showing some good color and is likely to thrive, you know, just in that ceramic log. I also trimmed off a lot of Rotala in here. I mean, I'm not really on a kick to grow Rotala. I have Rotala everywhere. I'm more interested in trimming it down, and today I noticed all these stems right here in front were you know, pretty much loaded with hair algae, green algae, and just caught in the outflow of these filters, you know, developing that long hair algae. So like I said, I'm not into preserving the stems any longer. I have so much Rotala, so I pretty much chopped them. Did a lot of Rotala clipping today, and like I said, I have so much. See these stems back here? It's about 25 green stems that came out of this tank here, because I did take down a large portion of these stems in this tank. Like I said, just been clipping a lot of Rotala, cleaning things up, and getting this tank pretty much ready to rescape it. Put some new plants in here. I got the Nisea acclimating. Still got the swords going to town. They're doing great. This one has pretty much buried its roots into the substrate. I noticed the one in the back too. I tried to move it around a little bit, and its roots are pretty much buried. You get that ram there. I got a tiny little male ram that I haven't introduced you guys. He's hiding back there. And with the two females I have in here already, I hope to grow him up, and we'll see what kind of breeding behavior comes with that. But he's really cool looking, and if I ever get a chance to show you a good shot of him, he's tiny, he's much smaller than the female, but he's a little brute, and he hangs out in here. Another thing I wanted to mention about chopping the Rotala is, particularly in this tank, I had mentioned there was a lot of algae and hair algae growing on the stems. Some of the stems that I do choose to preserve, what I'll do is I'll kind of just throw them into the shrimp tank and let them float here. And what the shrimp will do is just pick off all the debris and clean up those stems and you know, get them really green and get them ready to be planted in another tank. So that's what I have right in here in the shrimp tank. It's just several of the long stems of Rotala that I've chosen to save, and just let the shrimp kind of clean them up, do their thing. I won't feed them tonight. I'll just let them chew on the algae from these other tanks. I mean, this tank has no algae in it at all because it's a shrimp colony. So they'll kind of be my vacuum cleaners this evening for, like I said, the long stems of Rotala that I wish to preserve. This tank, just as jungle as ever. Look at this thing. I love it. I love it. It's bright. It's got a huge light on it right now. This piece of wisteria had kind of broken off, and it landed right there in the lace. So it looks like it's almost growing out of the lace. It's a very cool look. And this tank, I'm loving it. It's always been just piled on in here, you know, somewhat of a grow out tank. And I still love it. I mean, I get everything in here. Moss, Rotala, every species of plant I keep. And the lace. And the Ludwigia are in here. Look at the stems at the top. They're just growing fantastic. Wicked red. And the shrimp colony is just doing great too. In both tanks, the shrimp colony is just thriving. I'm tempted to throw a couple different shrimp in other tanks, on my other planted tanks, just so they can do the work I just mentioned, cleaning off the algae from certain stems and, you know, being the maintenance crew, the scavengers. This little guy's been doing so awesome. He got a great meal today after his water change and his maintenance. I threw several large snails in his tank. Very cool. Very happy that I've been able to keep this tank. I've told you in the past that I've never had very much success keeping smaller volumes of water, 5-gallon tanks, you know. I consider it a challenge, you know, to keep the smaller volumes of water, to keep systems, you know, naturally balanced in even 10-gallon tanks, you know, such as these. I would love to own a couple of, you know, large tanks, 6-foot tanks, 120-gallon tanks, 150-gallon tanks, 220-gallon tanks, and keep some larger cichlids and some larger fish that I've just never kept before. But as far as a planted tank, it is somewhat of a challenge to make it happen in these smaller volumes of water. And what I find is densely packing the tank, keeping a large vegetation, and keeping a semi-low bio load, you know. Regardless, you got to find the balance, you know, between your plant growth and the nutrients you're adding to the tank. But someday we'll get some larger tanks. Right now I'm just playing with different species in different, you know, natural environments. And I'm having fun. I encourage you all to do the same thing. Do what you like. Do what makes you happy. Do what you know you're going to enjoy. And just go with it, you know? And say, you know what, in the future, you know, maybe I'll do something else. I have some plans down the road for that. I noticed the moss in here hasn't been doing so great. It's been turning colors from, you know, a bright green, which I like to see it at, to almost like a darker brown. And since the water changed today, I actually noticed it's getting a little more green, but it didn't look so hot this afternoon. Let's check Mo out. What's up, buddy? I wish you... Off he goes. They've all been fed. Like I said, I spent a lot of time in the fish room today, just doing the maintenance, feeding the fish, playing and having fun. This tank didn't do any work in here today. If you notice, the stems are just so long. Check out the Rotala. If I actually did maintenance in here, those stems wouldn't be that long, pretty much touching the surface. But what I did do, and I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but I added a lot of moss down here in hopes of creating a little richer habitat for the guppy fry when they finally birth. You know, so I got a lot of moss. It's actually been doing very well. Just packed down here at the bottom, you know. There's some lush green runners there. There's the guppy tank. Living large as ever. Alright guys, I'm going to keep cruising. I can show you this real quick, a tank that I'm probably going to set up. It was a tank that was supposed to be given to me, and I set it up, combined it with another tank, just to kind of get a cycle going, and I might give it back to the person, surprise them with a nice planted tank, or I may use it as an extra tank. Not too sure, but I did want to set it up just because that's what I do. And the Brichardi tank is what it is. Always as massive as ever, this lush growth. There's a ton of MLTs in here, I think I noticed. I've been feeding the puffer out of this tank because there's just so many so many snails in here now. And they're huge too. Let me see if I can find a big one for you. Even though you're huge too, dude. Yeah, this is what the puffer dines on lately. And it's cool to keep a steady population of snails, especially if you keep puffers. But I'm going to keep rolling, and I'm going to try to ignore the phone. I appreciate you guys tuning in. What I'll do is I'll duck into the African room, the African tank. I did shift a lot of things inside this tank, and kind of shifted their habitat, got them a little feisty this afternoon. So they've been acting up. And you can see all the breaks in the algae, you know. That's a rock that's been moved. A lot of things shifted around. And I noticed that, oh, well that's something new. That rock came from somewhere, and I didn't put it there. So yeah, they've been going to town in here, doing a lot of digging, doing their thing. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Appreciate you touring the fish room with me. I keep you updated on all the planted tanks, the Mbuna, Mr. Man doing his thing. Like I said, he's a little feisty right now because I shifted their scape and gave him that water change. Was in the tank this afternoon. Appreciate you guys watching. Y'all have a good one. Peace.